President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Donald Trump victory stream. We're going to be going over Donald Trump's election victory today. And thank you, everybody, for joining me. This is the first live stream that I've done in several months for folks out there who have not seen the show before. I typically do an interview show. I have a lot of different guests on the show. I've had Noam Chomsky, Jill Stein, Oliver Stone, lots of pretty big names. But yeah, I also do live streams, or at least used to. I took a little bit of a break. So today we're going to be doing a recap of the election and maybe a few technical glitches. So please make sure to let me know if in the comments if there's any kind of glitches on your end. But yeah, definitely happy to have everybody on the show today. Happy to go through all of these different electoral results. There's a lot of exit polling that we want to go through today. So again, folks, just make sure to send super chats, and I will read those throughout the show as well. So yeah, let's take a little look, a little recap at what happened. Of course, everybody knows now Donald Trump won the election. He actually won with this currently says 295 electoral votes. It's actually probably going to be a little bit more than that. There's a couple of states still outstanding. There's Nevada, and there's also Arizona. He is currently ahead in both of those states. Only 71% of the vote is in Arizona, so Kamala Harris could pull ahead there. She's 5% behind, so it's probably unlikely, but it's possible. If Trump wins both of these states, which it seems like it's likely that he's going to do that, he'll win with 312 electoral college votes. And that would be the biggest Republican victory in the electoral college since 1988, when George H.W. Bush defeated Dukakis. So it's been a long time, also almost my entire lifetime, since a Republican has won this thoroughly. Additionally, Donald Trump has won the popular vote. Again, not all the votes are counted, but as of right now, he has won 50.9% of the popular vote. Kamala Harris has won 47.6%. Again, current tallies are that 72.7 million votes for Donald Trump and 68.1 million votes for Kamala Harris. And I'm going to talk a little bit also about the popular vote and how that compares to previous elections, because there's a little bit of interesting dynamics there. But as far as the states that Donald Trump won, how he was able to do this, he took back several states that he lost to Joe Biden. One of those was Georgia. In 2020, Donald Trump lost Georgia to Joe Biden. He won this time. It is 51% Trump to 49% Harris. That's 2.6 million to 2.5 million. Pennsylvania as well. This was really a big one. In these three states here, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, this is referred to as the blue wall. These are pretty much must-win states for Democrats. And Kamala Harris did not win them. She lost all three. It was a sweep of all of these states, and really a sweep of all the swing states overall. But she lost Pennsylvania in particular. This was a heavy focus. A lot of money was spent here. A lot of people thought Kamala Harris should have actually chosen the governor of Pennsylvania as a running mate, and of course she didn't do that. She chose Tim Walz. So she lost this state. It is 50% Donald Trump. That's 3.4 million to Kamala Harris's 3.3 million. Also in Michigan, again, not all the votes counted yet, but Donald Trump won with just under 50% of the vote, 2.8 million votes versus 2.7 for Harris. And then Wisconsin as well. Donald Trump just under 50%. He won about 1.7 million to Kamala Harris. She's actually not that far behind there, honestly. She's only about, what is that, like 30,000 votes behind. So pretty slim margin in Wisconsin, but it is going to Trump. And again, as we mentioned, Nevada and Arizona are still outstanding. Again, as far as the popular vote, just so you know, there's a lot outstanding in California. California is obviously a very Democratic state. Currently, she's up 5.7 million to 4 million for Trump, but only 56% of the vote is counted. So again, there's a lot of outstanding vote probably for Harris in California, but not to the degree that we're going to be talking about as regards to 2020. So this is the results for the presidency. There was obviously other elections as well. The U.S. Senate did flip as well. The U.S. Senate is now going to Republicans. Republicans picked up a few different votes from, a few different seats from Democrats who had been in office since 2006. A lot of folks forget the 2006 election. This was a blue wave election. It was during the Bush presidency. I remember it really well because I was 20 back then. I was following politics very closely. And this was the big midterm election where Democrats turned against the war in Iraq. And there was a lot of controversy here in Connecticut. Joe Lieberman was our senator. He actually lost the primary that year, and the current governor of Connecticut now, Lamont, he defeated Lieberman in the primary, and Lieberman ended up winning because Republicans fell behind him. But there was a lot of elections across the country where Democrats won. They won in Pennsylvania with Bob Casey. They won in Ohio with Sherrod Brown. They won in Montana as well with Tester, but those folks in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Montana, seemingly they have finally lost those seats. So they held them since 2006, now finally lost. In Montana, Tim Sheehy has defeated Tester 53% to 45%. In Ohio, Bernie Moreno has won with 2.8 million votes to Sherrod Brown's about 2.6. And West Virginia was a sort of different case there. That's where you had a sort of Democrat in name only who resigned, not resigned, but retired. And Jim Justice picked up that seat for the Republicans. Again, Pennsylvania, this is really an outstanding one currently. The Republican there is leading, but only by about 30,000 votes. So it is pretty close. Most of the votes have been counted, so not much left. I don't know if this is going to trigger a recount there, but it's pretty close there as well. Looks like there's a couple of other seats up for grabs too, potentially in Nevada and Arizona. Again, these are seats that they're counting for the presidential race. So we'll have to see how that shapes up. But overall, the point is Republicans have captured the Senate as well, so they will have the White House and the Senate. The U.S. House also is still being called currently. Republicans have a slim majority in the House of Representatives right now. But as far as the vote count currently, they have 206 seats, and they just need to regain 12 of those. But there's still 36 that are not yet called. So we'll have to see. One has to imagine, just based on Trump's victory, that. And again, with what happened with the Senate, it's probably pretty likely that Republicans are going to maintain control of the House. I think Speaker Johnson is already campaigning to be the speaker again. Also, too, as far as the Senate, there's something to mention there because Mitch McConnell is stepping down as well. So you're going to have a new Senate Majority Leader race as well. So we'll have to see who actually wins that. But that is how everything's shaping up currently. And I want to dig in a little bit into the sort of the exit polling as well. But just wanted to check, make sure that everything's going here. Again, folks, let me know if anything is happening with the audio or anything like that. Just want to make sure that, again, this is my first stream back for a while, so let me know. Okay, so I'm sure some of you folks also probably want to know as far as the third-party candidates. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on third parties and what their role would be. Democrats actually campaigned against Jill Stein, which is something historic. They've never run an ad against a third-party candidate before. They did that with Jill Stein this year. And Jill Stein actually did not pick up, much more of the vote than Greens typically get. She did, outperform Howie Hawkins by a bit, but he was, as we all know, a terrible candidate. So that really wasn't unexpected. But what is interesting as far as how these candidates came in, Jill Stein coming in third place, that is kind of in itself a big deal for the Greens, because they have not gotten third place since 2000 when Ralph Nader was on the ballot. And, there's a little bit of an asterisk there because Ralph Nader ran as an independent in 2004 and 2008, and Greens kind of sort of split the vote there a little bit. A lot of people fell behind him, but Greens technically had their own candidates those years. So the fact that Jill Stein came in third place, again, this is a little bit historic for the Greens. This is the first election that they've come in third place since 2000. I believe that would be the second election ever where they came in third place. RFK Jr. actually came in fourth place, and as we all know, he actually dropped out of the race a couple months ago. So folks seemingly voted for him anyway, even though he was endorsing Donald Trump. He got over 600,000 votes. So he came in fourth place. And then Chase Oliver of the Libertarian Party, he came in fifth place. And this was really a bad showing for libertarians overall. Typically, they're the third place finishers. They typically get, 1%, 2%, 3%, I think in the case of Gary Johnson, percent of the vote. So they fell way behind in this one with only 577,000 votes. So really a poor showing. Donald Trump and RFK really courted the Libertarian Party significantly. There was also some controversy in regards to Chase Oliver with some of his beliefs about the government funding transgender operations on prison inmates. That was sort of a thing that came up towards the end of election. That was a little bit of a controversy. You had a little bit of dissension within the Libertarian Party. I believe the Mises Caucus endorsed Trump. Additionally, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire also endorsed Donald Trump over their own candidate. So Chase Oliver just really was not widely accepted with the Libertarian Party, at least as much as candidates usually are. And they went to Donald Trump. Donald Trump also was he spoke very favorably of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, obviously, that's a big issue within the Libertarian Party, and having these sort of monetary alternatives, especially the Mises Caucus and the Austrian economists. They're very against central banking and fiat currency. So the fact that Donald Trump was very bullish on Bitcoin, that probably helped him, and it also actually helped the price of Bitcoin. As Donald Trump won on Tuesday evening, the price of Bitcoin skyrocketed. It went from, I believe, under 70,000 to over 74,000. So made a lot of people a little bit wealthier if they held Bitcoin. I unfortunately do not. I sold my Bitcoin years ago when it crashed, so probably should have bought some. But again, overall, the real message here for libertarians is just, they also need to kind of take stock of what happened with their party and figure out what their direction is forward. Again, Chase Oliver just was not really widely accepted, and coming in fifth place, coming in behind RFK Jr., a candidate who dropped out months ago, that's really pretty damning for them. So again, just really a bad night for the libertarians. Anyway, I did want to dig into some of the exit polling as well. But one thing I did want to mention, I kind of alluded to this, is just the trend line of Democratic votes, because, if you do look at this, it is a little suspicious. I know that, talking about election denialism was prohibited on YouTube for a while, so hopefully this isn't going to be kicked off. And I'm not necessarily even saying that, the 2020 election was stolen, but I do think that the fact that Joe Biden got 81 million votes in 2020, which was significantly more than Obama or Clinton or Harris is going to get, it's just a little odd, right? It's where did all these people come from, and B, where did they go? So it's a little suspect. I personally think there should be some kind of audit. Obviously, there was court cases that got thrown out because there was not standing. But again, this is just a little suspicious and warrants some investigation, I think, some honest investigation, just to understand how did so many voters come out of nowhere and then disappear. It's just, again, an odd thing. Did these people all they're just all first-time voters that just happened to vote because of COVID? They got ballots, they decided to vote, and then, they decided not to vote again when Donald Trump was on the ballot again. It's a little suspicious. I don't think there's going to be an investigation into this. I don't think Donald Trump is going to invest any political capital in this, or even if, he probably would want to. I know he has spoken out about the 2020 election for years. But I don't think his advisors or his staff would say that's worth investing in with, given the rest of their agenda that they want to implement. So, again, I just personally found that suspicious. And again, I know that there's some vote outstanding, especially in California. Even still, Kamala Harris is just probably barely going to crack 70 million votes. So we're still talking about, 10, 11 million votes that are just, that she didn't get that Biden somehow got. So again, let's dig into the exit polls, because, assuming that there was not any election fraud in 2020, it's important to kind of understand who kind of went for Trump, and then where did Kamala Harris underperform in terms of Joe Biden. So as many of you probably know, there was a gender split on this vote, gender gap. Donald Trump carried 55% of males, and 42% of females went to, 42% of males went to Harris. 45% of females went to Donald Trump, and 53% of females went to Kamala Harris. So again, if this was an election where just males voted, Donald Trump would have won even more handily. If it was an election where just females voted, Kamala Harris would have won. As far as racial demographics, 57% of whites voted for Donald Trump. 13% of African Americans voted for Donald Trump. Among Hispanics, it was a little bit closer. So 52% of Hispanics went to Kamala Harris. Asians, 54% went to Kamala Harris, and other went 54% to Donald Trump. And again, it goes into race or not, white or non-white, then sex by race. So white men went 60% to Donald Trump. White women went 53% to Donald Trump. So again, a lot of support for Kamala Harris came among white women and white college-educated women, but she still lost white women overall. Donald Trump won there. Among black men, Donald Trump picked up a little bit more than he did of African Americans overall. He won 21% of black men. Black women went overwhelmingly to Harris, 91% to Harris. Latino men, 55% Trump. Latino women, 60% Kamala Harris. So again, this was a real gender gap here across different ethnic groups. As far as age groups, so Kamala Harris did win among those 18 to 29. Again, young voters typically go heavily to Democrats, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but there was actually a pretty significant shift to the right, or to the Republicans, among Zoomers, among those 18 to 29. So Harris did pull out a victory, but it was a bit muted compared to other Democrats in the past. Among millennials, those 30 to 44, it was pretty much evenly split, 48% to Trump, 49% to Harris. Among Gen Xers, those 45 to 64, Donald Trump won 54% to 44. And then boomers were pretty much evenly split, 49 to 49 each. And then it breaks out age differently. And then age by gender. So young men went to Donald Trump. So those Zoomer men, 18 to 29, they broke 2% in favor of Donald Trump. Men 30 to 44 also went to Trump. Men 45 to 64, this was really where Trump saw the biggest share of the vote here. 60% of those men 45 to 64. So again, those Gen Xer men really seemed to support Trump. Among men 65 plus, Trump also won 55%. So again, men across the board kind of went for Trump regardless of how old they were. As far as women, young women 18 to 29, they went to Harris, 61%. So pretty significantly for Harris. Millennial women, 30 to 44, they went a little bit less to Harris, then a little bit less among Gen X women. Actually, Trump won those. Trump won Gen X women for those ages 45 to 64. He won them 50% of them. And then for women 65 plus, that was another strength for Harris. She won 54% to 45%. So kind of interesting dynamics there. It's really the Gen X women who supported Trump. The other age ranges seemed to support Harris. And again, Trump just won men pretty much across the board as far as age ranges. And then it also breaks out age by race. So that would be whites 18 to 29. That was pretty much evenly split. So again, whites who are Zoomers, they split evenly for Harris and Trump. Then whites 30 to 44, they went to Trump by 55%. White Gen Xers, they went to Trump more significantly, 62%. Whites 65 plus, they went to Trump 55%. African American Zoomers went to Kamala Harris by 84%. Pretty much same story for millennials and Gen Xers, all pretty much in that age range. And then older African American 65 plus, they really went overwhelmingly to Harris, 93%. And then going to Latinos, so we're seeing pretty even, 49% to Harris among Zoomers, 52% for millennial Latinos, 50% to 49% among Latino Gen Xers, and then Latino boomers, they went to Harris by 58% to 41%. Another thing that was really a big storyline here was college education. You can see because there was a little bit of a split here. Those who never attended college went to Trump by 63%. Those who attended college but received no degree went to Trump by 51%. Those who have an associate's degree went to Trump by 56%. So pretty much if you have an associate's degree or less, you were likely to vote for Trump. Then among those with bachelor's degrees, Harris won those by 53%. And with those with master's degrees, Harris won by 59%. So really seeing Harris overall win with those with college degrees, Trump winning with those without college degrees. This summarizes this here. And then education by race, white college graduates went to Harris, 52%. White non-college graduates went to Trump, 66%. So again, this was really his strength, white non-college graduates. Then non-white college graduates went to Harris, 65%, and non-white non-college graduates, so those who are not white and do not have a college degree, went to Harris, 64%. Education by gender among white voters. White women college graduates, so white women who are college graduates went to Harris, 57%. White women non-college graduates went to Trump, 63%. White men college graduates went to Trump by 50%. White men non-college graduates went to Trump, 69%. So more than a 2-to-1 margin there of white men non-college graduates went to Trump, and among non-whites it's 64%. And then this isn't really important really. Democrats went to Harris, Republicans went to Trump, but among independents, Harris actually, according to this, won independents. Harris won 49% of independents versus 46% to Trump. So even though if this is true and she carried independents, she still lost the race. On most political matters you identify as a liberal, that's 91% for Harris, moderate 57% for Harris, conservative 90% for Trump. Family income under $30,000, that was fairly evenly split, went to Harris 50%. Then $30,000 to $50,000, that went to Trump. $50,000 to $100,000, that went to Trump. $100,000 to $200,000, that was won by Harris by 51%, and $200,000 or more went to Harris. So again, it's really sort of these middle class folks who supported Trump. Does anyone in your household belong to a labor union? Yes, went to Harris, 53% to 45%. And I would think that that's a little weak for Harris. Typically union households vote pretty significantly for Democrats, and we know that this was a little bit of a storyline throughout the election. We had the Teamsters not endorsing Harris, and we had sort of these local unions endorsing Donald Trump. So I think there was a little bit of a weakness there, and Trump won non-union households. Religion, so those who are Protestant or other Christian, Donald Trump won 63%. Among Catholics, Donald Trump won 58%. Those who are Jewish, Kamala Harris won 78%. Something else, she won 59%. And no religion, this was really a strength of hers, 71%. Religion among white voters. So among white Protestants, Donald Trump won 72%. White Catholics, 61%. White Jews, Kamala Harris won 80%. White something else, 52% Harris. And white atheists, 71%. Again, same sort of story there. White born again or evangelical Christians, if they said yes to that, they went 82% to Trump. And then parents, so men with children went to Trump. Women with children went slightly to Harris, 51%. Men without children went to Trump by 54%. So actually, fathers seem to break a little bit more for Trump than men who are not fathers. And then women without children, they went more towards Harris. Are you currently married? Yes. So those who are married went 56% to Trump. Those who are not married went 54% to Harris. Gender by marital status, so married men, 60% Trump. Married women, 51% Trump. Non-married men, that was a little bit closer. Trump won with 49 to 47%, but non-married women went to Harris by 59%. So again, a little bit interesting dynamics here if you really consider those factors overall. Again, it seems like, it's these white, middle-class, married couples who, they're Christians, Protestants, they're really the ones who are supporting Trump. And it's really these, it's really females and those who are not married, those who do not have kids, they're the ones who broke more for Harris. LGBT, yes, went to 86% to Harris. No went 53% to Trump. This was an interesting one I didn't hear much analysis of, but have you ever served in the U.S. military? 65% of those who served in the U.S. military went to Trump. So a lot of veterans went pretty significantly to Trump. And actually, among those who did not serve, so those who are not veterans, Harris won. Harris won 50% to 48%. So not a huge margin. But again, if this was an election where, only non-veterans voted, Harris actually, according to this exit poll, would have won. Is this the first year that you have ever voted? So for first-time voters, again, this is only 8% of the overall electorate. But for first-time voters, Trump won 56%. And then those who voted for who have voted before, Trump also won by 50%. Do you think the condition of the nation, the economy questions are kind of stupid because it's so partisan. So again, the Democrats think that the economy is great. And, this is where it's such sort of, it's such a dogmatic thing, such a partisan thing where you're going to actually let partisan politics sort of infect the way that you view the economy. Because, if you're an ordinary person who has to go out there and buy groceries and, just deal with the facts of this economy and the fact that inflation has gone up 20% over the last several years, I don't think those folks are going to actually think that the economy is doing well. But, I think that we're seeing here a lot of Democrats are willing to say that the economy is doing good just because that's sort of what the campaign dogma is. And we see that there. Compared to 4 years ago, is your family's financial situation better today? 82% went to Democrats. Worse today, 17% to Democrats, 81% to Trump. About the same that went to Harris. And then it just has like a lot of different questions here. I don't know if it's really worth going through all of these. Should most undocumented immigrants in the U.S. be offered a chance to apply for legal status? 75% went to Democrats. Deported to to the countries they came from. 87% of those went to Trump. It's funny though, 11% of people who said that they should be deported, they voted for Harris. So interesting there. Is U.S. support for Israel too strong? 67% of Democrats said it's too strong. 30% of people who, 30% of those who said that it was too strong voted Republican, which is interesting because, again, Donald Trump sort of marketed himself as the more pro-Israel candidate. Kamala Harris sort of was forced in a situation where she was waffling, where she was offering support for Israel, but also, when she wasn't saying I'm speaking to the Palestinian protesters, she also was, putting out sort of these fake, disingenuous rhetoric around peace. But yeah, it's interesting to me that 30% of people who said that U.S. support for Israel is too strong actually went Republican and voted for Trump. Not strong enough, 82% of the folks who said that U.S. support for Israel is not strong enough went to Donald Trump. 17% of those who said that it's not strong enough went to Harris. And for those who said that's about right, 59% went to Harris. So again, this just goes through a lot of different things. Abortion, I don't know if all of this is really earth-shattering stuff. But again, it's sort of interesting to see, especially on the demographics, just what's happening there. And just on that too, I did want to go over here briefly, sort of the trend line over the last few elections, because I think this tells the story of why Kamala Harris lost, because she, in this case, as far as gender, she had a much smaller lead than Joe Biden did, and even less than Hillary Clinton, right? So Hillary Clinton, sorry, I'm going to make this full screen here. Hillary Clinton had a 13-point lead over Donald Trump in 2016. Joe Biden built on that, so Joe Biden actually had a bigger lead in 2020 by 15 points. Kamala Harris's lead was only 8 points, so about half of what Joe Biden got. And then it's sort of a different story with men. So Trump had an 11-point lead over Clinton. That actually fell in 2020. He only had an 8-point lead. So that kind of helps explain Joe Biden's victory. And then Trump blew that out of the water this year, 13-point lead in men. And Latino men, they went, again, towards Trump. We talked about that a bit, but black men, Harris actually lost support there. So black men, there was a 69-point lead for Clinton. That fell to only a 60-point lead for Biden. And then that fell again, a 56-point lead for Harris. Black women, sort of a similar story, 90-point lead for Clinton, 81-point lead for Biden, 84-point lead for Harris. Latino men, so we're seeing Clinton had a 31-point lead. Biden had a 23-point lead, so that's a pretty big drop-off. And then look at this. Donald Trump had a 12-point lead among Latino men. So that is a pretty significant story there in itself, right? I mean, that's a 35-point move since 2020. So again, I think that really helps explain a big part of Donald Trump's victory, the fact that Latino men went to Trump in this election. Latino women, 44-point lead for Clinton, 39-point lead for Biden, and a 22-point lead for Harris. So she also lost support there. White men, 31-point lead for Trump in 2016, and that was 31 in 2016, and then he had a 23-point lead over the last two elections. White women, Trump actually had a better lead in 2020. It fell back in this election. So I think we're seeing a little bit of the how gender can play a role there, maybe by a couple points. And then, again, talking about education and race. So white voters with a college degree, Trump won those. He had a 3-point lead in 2016. Then Biden won those by 3 points, and Harris won that by 7 points. So she really built on that, right? She built on whites with college degrees. White voters with no degree, it's pretty flat for Trump, 35%, 34%. Voters of color, college degree, we actually see a drop there as well. Clinton had a 50-point lead. Biden had a 43-point lead. Harris had only a 33-point lead. And voters of color, no degree. Clinton had a 56-point lead. Biden had a 46% lead. Harris had a 30-point lead. So just again, among these demographics who typically support Democrats, Trump has really been like eating into their margin over time, and it really helped blow Harris out of the water this time. But again, one area we're seeing Democrats make up for that is among white women with a college degree. So Clinton had a 7-point lead, Biden had a 9-point lead, and Harris had a 16-point lead. So she really built on Biden's lead significantly. White women with a college degree went pretty hardcore for Harris. White women with no degree, again, Trump's pretty flat there. White men with a college degree, that's kind of interesting. Trump had a big lead there in 2016, but it fell a lot the last two elections. So it seems as though in 2016, white men with a college degree went to Trump, and just barely to Trump by a 3-point margin the last couple elections. And again, white men with no degree, Trump has a huge lead there. And here, again, this is really an area I think that needs, a lot of analysis. Younger voters shifted towards Trump while he lost ground with senior voters. So among those 18 to 29, so again, those Zoomers and in previous elections, millennials, but young voters, 18 to 29, Clinton had a 19-point lead. Biden built on that. Biden had a 24-point lead. In this election, Harris had only an 11-point lead among Zoomers. So just a huge drop-off, going from a 24-point lead to an 11-point lead. That's a huge hit. Among those 30 to 44, again, you don't really see. It has been a tightening over time, right? Clinton had a 10-point lead. Biden had a 6-point lead. Harris had only a 1-point lead. Then those 45 to 64, they seem to go a bit less to Trump in the last election, because he went from having an 8-point lead in 2016 to a 1-point lead in 2020 to a 10-point lead in 2024. And then 65 years or older, Trump won them in 2016 at a 7-point lead. 2020, Trump had a 5-point lead, and then this time it was a tie. And then they talk about rural and urban as well. What I would expect Trump would have a healthy lead in rural areas. He actually doubled his margin this time, so that was a big boost. But among the suburbs, this is really, I think, where a big part of the election plays out. A lot of us, live in suburbs, and Trump won the suburbs in 2016. He lost the suburbs in 2020, and then he won them again this time by the same 2016 margin. So I think that, was a real secret to his success too, is the fact that, he did pull out that edge among the suburbs, and among urban voters. Harris and Clinton and Biden all had healthy leads there. And then just go into the economy, abortion rights. Trump made inroads with moderates. So talking about moderates, Biden had a 30-point lead in 2020, only a 17-point lead this time. So again, I don't know if, Trump engaged new voters. This is, so first-year voters. It's interesting they don't have this for 2016. But for first-year voters, Biden had a 32-point lead in 2020, and Trump had a 13-point lead this time. So, interesting there. But yeah, I wanted to go into a little bit of the reactions to this. I think there's been some good good analysis actually on some corporate media. So just wanted to highlight a couple here. This is MSNBC.
You've actually worked in Republican circles. What is going wrong here on that front?
And I just think the Democrats right now have to just reckon with the fact that there's a fundamental brand problem with the party as far as not reaching like huge swaths of the country. Jim listed a couple of them with rural and Hispanics. But if you look at the exit polls, Trump gained with every demographic group except college-educated women. Everyone. Black men, Hispanic men and Hispanic women, non-college women. So it wasn't really even a race and gender thing in particular. It was widespread. And there's a brand issue. And to your reference about my kind of time at the Republican Party, I look back at 2012 when we lost with Romney, right? And afterwards, we did the autopsy and we looked at it and we're like, we need to fix this little thing or that little thing. And that might make the difference if we reached out to this group more or that group. The reality was that the Romney-Ryan party did not appeal to broad swaths of the country. It did not appeal to black and brown Americans. It also didn't really appeal that much to working class Americans. Obama cut into his margins there. That's where the Democrats are right now. They get so when you say communicate, yeah, but it's more like we got to figure out how to talk to them. It's not about a talking points. Democrats have to think about how their brand is resonating outside of college-educated, urban and suburban, white America.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty good take. But I think it's more than that too. I think it's more than just a branding issue. I think that it's really how Democrats feel, right? It's how Democrats voice their frustrations about the rest of the country and how they treat them and how they censor them. I think that that's a big point too. So I did see this other analysis that I thought was pretty spot on.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for the first time for a Republican for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids, and they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney.
It's almost like they lie to us or something.
Nikki
But they wouldn't do that, would they?
Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line, and we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough. This is a mandate.
So, yeah, again, I think this is a pretty solid take, and I think people are just sick of Democrats, sick of Democrat bullshit, right? Like it's been 4 years of medical mandates and censorship and gaslighting and just being talked down to constantly. That's what the past 4 years have been, is just this sort of catty elitism and people, just treating the rest of the country like shit. It's basically, if you don't agree with me, then you're a Nazi, you're a Russian agent, and you need to be censored and, I don't know, debanked and whatever the hell else that, and everybody has to take this experimental vaccine. And if you have any questions about that, then you're, again, Russian, Nazi, whatever. And I think people are just sick of that, right? They're sick of the hysteria over January 6th. Like, it was a 3-hour riot, and it happened 4 years ago. And, like, that's what Democrats ran on. They ran on, it was an attack on democracy. It's an assault on democracy. He's an insurrectionist. He's a traitor. And, like, that only goes so far, right? It only goes so far in an environment where wars are breaking out around the world, where you're trying to push, when you're trying to restrict people's medical freedom, where you're engaging in censorship and just silencing any kind of dissent. They didn't let people talk about the 2020 election. They didn't let people talk about the vaccine. They didn't let people talk about what was happening in Ukraine. They censored all of that, and that's what led to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and rebranding as X, and that's what led to the advent of Rumble, or the migration of people over to Rumble. And I think Democrats really just shot themselves in the foot because they treated everybody like shit. They just told everybody this guy said, shut up, fall in line, do what we say. And, that only goes so far. People are only willing to tolerate that for so long. And I think that's what really tells the story of why people went back to Trump. Just because they were sick of Democrats. So, also, another story here is Alan Lichtman. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but this is a guy who successfully predicted the outcome of basically the last 10 presidential elections. There's an asterisk with that because he thought that Gore would beat Bush in 2000. But as we all know, that election actually was kind of stolen. Gore did get a higher percentage of the popular vote. The Supreme Court told Florida to stop counting the votes. So, technically Gore probably should have won that one. So he basically has a perfect record. And he predicted Kamala Harris was going to win this election. But somehow he was completely wrong. Again, this was a historic election victory for Trump and the Republicans. Again, 1988 style victory. And this guy just did not see that coming. So let's just, he's going to hype up here that he's going to talk about it tonight on X, but
look,
he admits
my
he's wrong.
prediction for this presidential election was wrong. I own up to it. Right now, I am taking time off today, Wednesday, through my live show Thursday. My aim is to assess why the keys were wrong and what we can learn from this era and what the election means for the future of our country going forward. The show will be at 9 p.m. Thursday, November 7th at Alan Lichtman.
So you can all tune in and listen to this guy explain why, I don't know, why he got it so wrong. But I just wanted to go into this because I think it's really, telling. I think that he has a really bad system, honestly. I think that this is just a really shitty way to predict the president. I mean, it's worked for him. So, I can only be so critical, but think about how subjective these things are. He talks about his keys to success. Party mandate. After the midterm elections, the incumbent party holds more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives than the previous midterm elections. Then number 2, no primary contest. There's no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. Number 3, incumbent seeking re-election. The incumbent party candidate is the sitting president. 4, no third party. 5, strong short-term economy. 6, strong long-term economy. 7, major policy change. The incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy. According to who? Number 8, no social unrest. There is no sustained social unrest during the term. 9, no scandal. The incumbent administration is untainted by major scandal. Number 10, no foreign or military failure. The incumbent administration suffers no major failure in foreign or military affairs. Number 11, major foreign or military success. The incumbent administration achieves a major success in foreign or military affairs. Number 12, charismatic incumbent. The incumbent party candidate is charismatic or a national hero. Number 13, uncharismatic challenger. The challenging party candidate is not charismatic nor a national hero. So let's go into how this broke out for this election. This page here has all of the previous elections. But as far as Harris versus Trump, the party mandate was he put as false. Again, it's if I believe 6 of these or more is false, then he predicts that the challenger is going to win. So again, if you went back here, 6 were false previously in 2016, so he predicted Trump. 7 were false previously in 2020, so he predicted Biden. But he only predicted 4 of these would be false so that Harris would win. But let's think about some of these, okay? Party mandate, false, okay? No primary contest, true. So he thinks in this case, and again, I admit that this is a unique circumstance, right? But because there was not a significant primary process, that means that that's a point in favor of Harris. But this was a little bit of an anomaly, right? Because that would only really count if Joe Biden was the nominee, which he's not, right? He was told to drop out by his own party, and his running mate became the nominee without having to go through a primary. So think about the dynamics of that. That's not a point in her favor. She wasn't challenged in the primaries, and she didn't actually have to win the nomination. That's not a point in her favor. That's a point against her. So that should bring us up to 5 there. Incumbent seeking re-election, false. No third party. In this case, I would say, okay, fine, because they didn't get much of the vote. But, there was a lot of talk of third party candidates. I mean, again, Democrats spent money on Jill Stein. You had Cornel West. You had, again, Chase Oliver, the Libertarians. You had RFK Jr., who was, a pretty significant third-party candidate, dropped out and endorsed Trump. Again, he came in 4th place, even though he dropped out. So I think, the third-party factor may be a little underappreciated in this election, because I think a lot of, hundreds of thousands of people didn't vote for Harris. They voted for Jill Stein because she was against the genocide in Gaza. And, that probably wasn't enough to help Harris overall, but it hurt her. And additionally, RFK Jr., his endorsement for Trump probably helped him. He ran as a third party. He got a decent amount of support. He fell behind Trump. That probably helped him a bit. So this true here, I don't know how true that is. That's probably another one in Trump's favor. It's probably really another false. And then here's a couple here that are, just complete bullshit. Strong short-term economy and strong long-term economy. He says those are both true. He says that both in the short term and in the long term, the economy is doing just great. You're all doing just fine. Again, this is such complete partisan, elitist, academic bullshit. The economy is not good. Household credit card debt is skyrocketing. It's through the roof. We've had 20% inflation over the last 4 years. How is that a strong long-term economy? So, and the jobs reports are complete bullshit too. Every time they release one of these jobs reports, they go back and they revise the previous jobs reports and say, oh, we're sorry. We actually, we lied and there weren't as many jobs added. And actually, the really strong jobs report that there was a couple months ago, that was fueled by government jobs. The private sector, non-farm payrolls or whatever, those went down. It was government jobs that went up. So is that really a sign of a strong economy if the government's employing a ton of people? And the last jobs report for October, that was the worst jobs report since December of 2020. So since the real dark days of the COVID pandemic. So I don't know how people can buy into this bullshit that the economy is actually doing well. It's not. And if you're, an average middle class person, I think that you would have to agree. It's doing pretty bad. And again, that's why people are racking up credit card debt to go to the damn grocery store. So those are 2 falses. So again, already over the threshold. Major policy change, he said true. Can you think of a major policy change that, if a positive one over the Biden administration? I can't. They had, again, the failed COVID mandates. Was that a positive policy change? I don't think so. I don't think any of the Inflation Reduction Act helped anyone. I don't think that there's anything that most people can point to that was actually something like, oh yeah, the Biden administration, they passed that key legislation and that really helped a lot of people. There wasn't that. So again, false, completely biased. I don't know why you would mark that as true. No social unrest. Oh, you mean like people protesting at college campuses for months? That kind of social unrest? You mean like, people protesting during COVID when they were going out? You mean like the truckers and all of the protests that were happening back during COVID? Again, false. No scandal. I don't know. I think that, there's probably some scandals that you could look into there. Again, whether it's stuff involving Hunter Biden or Ukraine, like arguably there's some scandals. No foreign or military failure. False. Major foreign or military success. True. And I've actually heard this guy talk about this before. So his whole thing is that Ukraine has been a military success. Again, completely biased. By what regard? That Russia didn't take Kiev? Okay, I suppose, but Ukraine has been at war for 2.5 years. Russia has been taking ground over the last several months. Have they pushed Russia out of Ukraine? No. And actually, again, I think geopolitically, Russia's gotten stronger. You see this with BRICS. You saw 30-something world leaders just go to Russia as part of this BRICS summit, including the UN Secretary General. So how is our conflict with Russia? How have we seen a major military success there? Again, just because Zelensky is still in power and not holding elections. And again, charismatic incumbent, false, uncharismatic challenger, true. So Donald Trump, he says, is uncharismatic. Again, I think because so many people dislike him. But again, this is all really subjective and up for debate. I think that a lot of people find Trump charismatic. And I don't know, I think you have to take that into account in some way, right? So I think if there was a more objective application of these keys, and he had kind of maybe modified the no primary contest given the circumstances of this particular election. How did he do 1968, by the way? Let's look at that because that was sort of a similar situation. So 1968, no primary contest. He said false, actually, I guess because there was RFK Sr. So yeah, okay. But again, he should have done some modification. He should have applied these differently because it's just bullshit. The economy is not strong. There was some movement among third parties. There was social unrest absolutely over the last 4 years. And Donald Trump has a following that would say that he's charismatic. So I don't know what Alan Lichtman's going to say tonight, but just my reading of this is that he did not really apply these. He didn't really apply these fairly. He should have probably, I think he was probably biased in how he applied these. And again, I think it comes from an academic worldview. And this is kind of the last part that I want to get into and close on is sort of the people who supported Kamala Harris and this bubble that they live in and sort of who these people are and what they do not understand about Trump. And I'm sure that some folks who are going to tune in for the end of this this stream here are going to say that it's a bit biased, but it's just it's I think a fair reading of sort of the dichotomy that we're seeing in the country that plays out through some of the exit polling that we went through, where again it's these white college educated, really heavily boomers, like these sort of folks who are academics. Those are the folks who fall behind Kamala Harris, and it's the working class families, white Protestants. Like those are the folks who skew heavily for Trump. So I think again we're seeing sort of the stratification that's a little bit different than we may have seen in the past, where again it's sort of these elitists and sort of the upper class that are skewing more towards the Democrats, and we're seeing more working class folks skew towards Trump. And I had a couple other clips that I wanted to share that I think really embody this, and this one I thought was hilarious.
Okay, so we're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern time, and
This was the night of the election. This was the evening of the election, but before the votes took place, before the polls closed.
And tracking everything that's been going on across the country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne. I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he asked me, why I was getting the champagne. And I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face. And I said, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to. And the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh. But
that was another thing. Did you hear that bullshit? Well, they had like this whole flood of polls over the weekend that said Harris was leading. And one of them said she was going to take Iowa, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst.
I'm sorry. I interrupted it. This is really the funny part.
She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. They're unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't tell me who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. And I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh my God, that lady's hilarious. I really want to, I know Alan Lichtman's going to do his thing, but I really want to hear this lady do her explanation for what happened, because she's a political analyst, so she probably could give us some good insight. So this was another one. I thought this was interesting. This is Trump supporter, jaywalk journalism. He went around Washington and talked to some of these folks, and some of the reactions here were just amazing, I thought.
Can I ask you guys what you think of Trump winning last night?
Disgusting.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sad.
Can we ask you what you think of Trump's victory?
Speechless. It's a tragedy for me.
Hey guys, we are in liberal Washington, D.C. today, the day after the election. Trump won in a landslide last night. We're asking all these liberal D.C. residents what they think about Trump's victory. Let's see what they have to say.
Devastated.
Why are you devastated?
Because I think he's not going to be the best leader for this country.
Were you surprised? Did you think Kamala was going to win?
No, I wasn't surprised, no. I'm devastated but unsurprised.
What's your message to all the Trump supporters that voted for him?
You're going to get what you deserve, honestly.
Can't stand Trump. The man has no manners,
no manners,
decorum.
No decorum. Yeah. This lady's the best. Pay attention to this lady. She's the best one.
You're going to get what you deserve, honestly.
Can't stand Trump. The man has no manners, no decorum. Yeah, very, very sad.
Did you think Kamala was going to win? Were you confident going into it?
Not completely, but hopeful, very hopeful.
What do you think is going to happen over the next 4 years?
I think the country is going to become much more constrained in terms of females' health rights. I think books in kids' libraries that tackle topics like transgenderism, whatever, are going to even be more restrained. I think it's just going to be a big tightening of society.
Okay. And that's a bad thing, you think, like kids not having access to books about transgenderism?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's life, real life. They just want to pretend that everybody's binary.
Okay.
They're not. I'm very happy for that.
You're very happy? Why are you happy?
Because America is going to be great again.
You think you're going to make America great again?
Yes.
Look at the dichotomy in who these people are.
It's library.
He has no manners. He has no decorum. This rich, affluent snob versus this woman who is clearly an immigrant
Because America gonna be great again.
Like, do you see the stratification? Do you see like what's happening? Do you see why Democrats are losing among, losing that margin that they had among blacks and Latinos and working class people? It's because they're fucking snobs. It's because they're assholes. They're douchebags. They're elitists. And they're catty and they're just jackasses. That's why. Because they're complete douchebags. And, ordinary, common, working class people, they're sick of it. They voted out of spite, I think, a lot of them. That should have been an exit poll question. Did you vote for Democrats just to piss off liberals? I think a lot of people would have said yes to that.
You think he's going to make America great again?
Yes.
Speechless. It's a tragedy for me.
Tragedy?
It really is, yeah.
What do you think this country's going to be like over the next 4 years?
I'm scared to see how it's going to turn out. I think we're going to descend further. We're going to stray further from democracy than we have in the past. I think that our economy is going to end up far worse than anything that could have been perceived under Kamala.
What is your response to Trump winning last night?
Oh, my response is sadness, disappointment, but I think our country should have done more to make sure someone like that didn't get reelected,
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think this country is going to be like over the next 4 years under Trump?
I have no real idea. I felt like under him, the first time it was crazy because we had COVID. This time it'll be our first time really seeing how it pans out genuinely with the Trump presidency, with businesses open and trying to operate and things like that. So I have no idea, but I'm hopeful, to be honest.
Hopeful?
Yeah.
Were you confident that Kamala could win it? Did you think she was going to win?
And I had a lot of doubts. I didn't like her running mate, and I really believe she should have used a running mate that reflected, other identities, like someone in another race or sexuality, and I think that weakened the campaign, to be honest.
Do you think like Tim Walz being like a white guy was an issue for her?
Yeah, I felt like kind of like a Joe Biden stand-in and appealing to like that older demographic, but using someone younger, someone black or female or gay would have been, I think, a very powerful statement.
Or Palestinian.
A message to all the Trump supporters that voted for him, if you could tell them one thing.
Well, educate yourselves. Although, as an American, I do respect their right to vote for Trump, to be honest. And I lived in I lived in a red state for a while. A lot of them are undereducated, and a lot of them are just simply don't have the privilege of education, good education.
Just sick.
You think it's going to be a bad thing next 4 years?
Oh my God, it's a nightmare.
What's your message to all the Trump supporters that voted for him? What's your reaction to Trump winning last night?
I missed it.
That voted for him. What's your reaction to Trump winning last night?
Very happy.
You're very happy, okay. Awesome, the first one we've heard. Can we ask you guys your reaction to Trump winning last night? What did you guys think of the victory?
Best victory. We are so
really happy, and we're so thankful. And now we trust our country way more.
Trust our country.
Did you guys think, were you confident going into it that he would win?
No, not confident at all.
You thought they were going to try to steal it? Or?
Yep,
I
thought
didn't think they were going to let him win.
Okay. You guys are the second people out here. We've talked to a lot of people. Everyone is very sad today.
Oh.
Are you guys from D.C.?
No. Israeli.
Israeli, okay. Can we ask you what you think of Trump winning last night?
It's pretty great.
You think it's great?
Fan-fucking-tastic. Trump running the United States like a business. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Is that good, or?
It's a good thing, but I'm not even mad at it.
Okay. You think the economy's going to be better if he runs it like a business?
Yeah. He treated fair, you know what I mean? Treat people fairly.
Maybe we'll have more money.
More money, you know what I mean? More job opportunities for other people.
So yeah, that was jaywalk journalism. I thought that was, pretty insightful, a good sample. Yeah, I think what it is a real situation where you have these folks who are older, who are privileged, and they're like educated, they watch corporate media, and I think that's actually a big factor here too. I think that the fact that we had so much censorship over the last several years, that forced a lot of Republicans and conservatives and just, people who didn't follow party orthodoxy, that forced them onto X, that forced them onto Rumble, that forced them onto TikTok or, Telegram, that forced them onto other platforms where they heard more alternative perspectives because the corporate media is so sanitized and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram are so sanitized, that really fueled a lot of this. I think the censorship shot Democrats in the foot because, sure, it helped them in the short term where they could silence people for election denialism or, medical misinformation or whatever, the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. So that may have helped censor those social networks and made it seem as though they were popular. But what did it do in the long term? It sent people over to these alternative social media networks and these other places to get news and realize the corporate media is lying to us all the time. The narratives are constantly changing, and they're constantly talking down to people, constantly gaslighting them. And I think enough people started realizing that, where that helped, again, help put Trump over the edge here. But I want to close out today just kind of talking about the appeal of Donald Trump. And I want to preface this by saying, I'm not like an avid MAGA guy. I'm not like a huge, Trump supporter. I'm going to say he's right about everything. I do think some of the things that he did were good as far as going to North Korea and, he actually initially had planned the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. He did a lot of bad things too. He tried to back a coup attempt in Venezuela, which failed, by the way. He also bombed Syria twice. Actually, on like a 1-year anniversary after he first bombed it, he bombed him again. He assassinated Soleimani. So he did a lot of bad things. Again, he also just did whatever Israel wanted, as the Biden administration is. He didn't take us out of NATO. He didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. So he did a lot of bad things. I have plenty of criticisms about him, but I think what's absent in the conversation among liberal circles is understanding what the appeal of Donald Trump is, because they just say he's racist, he's sexist, he's homophobic. What they don't get is two things. A, he's funny, right? Donald Trump is hilarious. I think anybody should be able to admit that. And people support him because, he's gauche. He's not this sort of snobby liberal elitist, even though he went to Wharton, even though he's a billionaire. He's not a snob. He's like Rodney Dangerfield. And it reminds me a lot of the scene from Caddyshack. By the way, please send me super chats because this is going to absolutely get demonetized. So please send me some super chats and I'll read those before the end of the show.
You're going to eat your fat. Morning. You're looking lovely this evening, Mrs. Mills.
Oh, I thank you, Doc.
Lacey, you'd be interested in knowing that this uniform was given to me by the captain of the Lynx of St. Andrews in Scotland. They invented the game there, except they call it golf without the L, as we do.
I think I have enough butter now.
Right. If you need any more.
Sure.
So I tell you, when Mona died last winter, I said to myself, Al, if you keep busting your hump 16, 20 hours a day, you'll end up with a $60 million funeral,
So basically, this is Trump, right? He's sort of this...
Could you scare up another round for our table over here and tell the cook this is low-grade dog food, all right?
Loud, bombastic, rude, gaudy
I had better food
person
at the ball
at
game,
this snobby dinner party of American
marks
politics.
when the jockey was hitting it. Well, anyway, today I just stick to real estate, With the market these days, if you own anything but land, you own a popcorn farm. Oh, somebody stepping a duck? Isn't that right, sir? Ooh, the graveyard is 2 blocks to the left, okay? Dog food! I saw him dog food!
That's Ryan Routh.
Hey, where's the bar? Let's have some drinks here, see what's going on, for crying out loud. Hey, waiter, here, this is for you, all right? Oh, Captain Hook. How about the grand you owe me, huh? Nah, forget about it. I'm just kidding, all right? Oh, this your wife. Oh, a lovely lady. Hey, baby, you're all right. You must have been something before electricity, huh? Okay. Hey, doll, how are you, huh? You live alone? Hey, Rabbi, nice seeing you. Okay, you're all right. Folks, how are you, huh? Oh, this your grandson, huh? Oh, wonderful boy. Nice boy, you are. He's a good boy, I'll tell you. Now I know why tigers eat their young.
But do you get it? Like, it's like the Three Stooges, how they like will do a pie fight at a fancy dinner party. It's the same sort of thing. Like people want these snobby liberal elitists to get their comeuppance. That's what it's about. And again, I think that really should have been an exit poll question: is are you voting for Trump just to piss off liberals? You know, it kind of reminds me of that scene from Seinfeld where he's returning the jacket, and they said, "Why are you returning it?" And he says, "For spite." I think a lot of people voted for spite. They voted for Trump for spite because they are sick of liberal bullshit. I think that's a big part of it. But to be perfectly candid and perfectly honest, I think that if you look at Donald Trump and the trajectory of his life and his career, I think the fact is, you know, there's a lot of people that support that story too, right? He was a real estate developer. He changed the New York skyline. He released The Art of the Deal, which was a really big book. I know that folks kind of look back at that and think it was, you know, just one of these other sort of stupid Trump rant things. But The Art of the Deal actually was a really top-selling book that a lot of business people looked at for a while. And then, you know, he had The Apprentice, and he won in 2016 by beating two political dynasties. He beat Jeb Bush, who was he was the son of a president and the brother of another president. He beat Hillary Clinton, the wife of another president, and, you know, with all the other challengers in there as well, you know, Marky Rubio, and Ted Cruz, and you know, Rand Paul and everybody else that was running that year. Kasich, who held in till the very end, Ben Carson. He beat all of those people, and he won the presidency. He was slandered for years as being a Russian agent. He lost in 2020 in what he claimed was a stolen election during an historic pandemic. And then, you know, he was indicted. They had 100 criminal charges against him where he could spend life in prison. They raided his home. They kicked him off of all of the social networks. He runs for president again, beats all of those challengers who all, you know, the mainstream, the Republican establishment who was supporting people like DeSantis and Nikki Haley, beat all of them without even participating in those primary debates. He didn't even need to at that point. Won that, and then had a debate with Joe Biden, beat Joe Biden so badly in that debate that Biden had to drop out of the election. He survived 2 assassination attempts, one in which he was shot in the ear. Then built a huge coalition around him. I mean, look at the lineup at that Madison Square Garden event that happened a few weeks ago. Consider all of the people who were there who supported Donald Trump. You had RFK Jr., you had Tulsi Gabbard, you had Elon Musk, you had Dr. Phil, you had Hulk Hogan, Tucker Carlson, Mike Johnson was there. He had just a huge lineup of all of these different people to put together this interesting political coalition who, albeit heavily Zionist, you know, it represents a lot of viewpoints that are kind of were pushed out of the mainstream for a while, right? Like Tulsi Gabbard, I think she's kind of a psyop, but whatever. She was voicing anti-war views back in 2020, really the only Democrat who was really doing that. RFK Jr. also ran on an anti-Ukraine war. He is perfectly fine supporting what's happening in Gaza, but he ran against the war in Ukraine. He ran for medical freedom and ran against everything that they were trying to do with COVID mandates. Again, Tucker Carlson had to leave Fox News, and just, it's a very interesting coalition that Trump has put together. But overall, I think that the story of Trump has been very inspiring to some people. So I wanted to end on a video that I think kind of summarizes, the vibe that a lot of people like about Donald Trump, and how he, in some ways really embodies the American spirit, for better or worse. You can say there's a lot bad about Donald Trump and a lot bad about America, maybe. But I think that there's probably never been a person who sort of represents, that sort of what a lot of people would consider to be the American spirit. So I'm going to end on this. If anybody would like to send me any super chats, I'll read those. If not, this will be it. But thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
More border patrol and more asylums. President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
I love this country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank all you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. I am planning to have Nico House on the show tomorrow and do an interview with him. So please do catch that. Again, please do follow me across all different social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, X, Rumble as well if you're on Rumble. So please do follow me there. Thanks again, everybody, for joining me. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.